Hello, and welcome to Handled Ish Productivity for the Imperfect, a weekly podcast for those who want to elevate their productivity but are not looking for perfection. I'm your host, Betsy, and I am really happy you're here with me in podcast land, on YouTube, or on the KC24 CBS 47 Plus app that you can download from your smart TV. Grateful to everyone who carries the podcast. This is episode 127, the draft handle dish manifesto. And I am so just very feeling very silly and happy about this idea. And I want to share a little background, then I want to share the draft manifesto, and then of course I want to hear what you think. So I'm working on revamping my website. I'm moving over to handledish.com. And I've got a brand new speaker reel that I'm working on and all kinds of fabulous things. And I was putting a bunch of podcast content and other content into AI to sort of help organize it. And when I was working on the website, this idea came up of this handled-ish manifesto and really having it sort of dovetailed on the idea that my new website is really just going to be about, well, is going to start with this whole idea of the handle dish movement, right? Productivity for the imperfect and just, doing all the things while maintaining our knowledge that we are imperfect humans and we're never going to be productive all of the time, nor will we probably ever be as productive as we quote want to be. So the idea of, a handle dish movement and then this idea of a handle dish manifesto came up. And at first I was like, no, that sounds like, some of the things that, are that bad people write and they, post it on the news or whatever. And then I, sort of looked it up and was thinking about it. And I'm like, no, you know what? We can take back the word manifesto for those of us who have, good intent, right? And so I kind of started playing around with this whole idea about handle dish manifesto. And so I wanted to share the draft with you as this is a work in progress and to see if you have any additions to the handle dish manifesto. So here's the draft. So productivity should help you live your life, not make you feel worse about it. I love this idea that you should use productivity to do the things you want to do, not as a gauge to make you judge yourself and feel awful. This goes back with the podcast we did a couple of weeks ago about productivity shaming, ditching it, and I feel actually very strongly more about that as the weeks go by. Productivity shaming should be illegal. We should literally not be allowed to do it because it is not helpful. If the goal is to be able to do the things that we want to do, a la productivity, shaming is the opposite of helpful. And I feel like at this point I might be, belaboring that point a little bit too long, but super important. So, again, number one, productivity should help you live your life, not make you feel worse about it. Number two, meaningful progress counts even when it's messy, slow, interrupted, or not Instagram worthy. I love this. A great, great reminder that yes, meaningful progress does count. Slow progress counts. Imperfect progress counts. Interrupted progress counts. Progress that we would never show on Instagram counts. It's all part of getting what we want out of our lives. So, loving that. Done enough, in quotes, is sometimes what we want. Everything doesn't have to be done to quote unquote perfection or even to the quote unquote best of our ability. There's a lot of things in our life that done enough is enough. And the more we have those conversations, the more we'll probably identify which things those are and save the really perf perfectly aligned, because perfection I don't think is really possible in most things, or doing it things to the best of our ability to the things that really deserve that energy. There's so many things that do not deserve the doing it to the best of our ability energy. And this might be a little controversial because there's a lot of folks who love the phrase, how you do one thing is how you do anything. And you can kind of look up why people feel that way. I don't, because I believe that we can do things good enough on one hand and do things amazing to the best of our ability on the other hand. And both of those things are okay. I don't think we have the capacity, or at least I don't, or anybody I know, to do everything to the best of our ability, even though there are some things that we're going to want to do that way. So, done enough is often exactly what we want. Next one, rest is useful, perfection is overrated, and small steps count. I guess those are three. Rest is useful. Those of us high energy, I hate the term high functioning because that feels like there's also a low functioning. I think if you're just getting up every day and doing the thing, you are a high functioning human. So maybe it's if you're a high energy person who gets a lot done, you may have a difficult, complicated relationship with rest. However, you also know intellectually, spiritually, emotionally, and because you've tried it, that rest is useful. So let's really embrace that. Perfection is 100% overrated. The best things are not perfect, and they also make us more vulnerable, relatable, easier to be around, and folks people want to do business with. And we want to be amazing. We do not need to be perfect. And small steps count. In fact, small steps are the only ways we do anything. So even if you take a tiny step towards something that you're working on today, totally counts. Proud of you. High five, air high five, self high five. We talked about that. Also, real humans need practical tools, compassion, humor, and room to be imperfect. I'm going to read that again. Real humans need practical tools. That's what this podcast is about and all the things I do. Real people need compassion because, again, loving ourselves is the only way through this in a good way. Real people need humor, which is what I hope I also deliver in this podcast because I think there's so much that's funny about all of our journeys. And I also believe that if we look for humor, we will find it. That doesn't mean that we all have to be stand-up comedians at all, but I think we should look for the humor, just like we should look for the good, and we will find it. We also need room to be imperfect, right? We need to acknowledge that our imperfect selves are going to do imperfect things, which is where the compassion comes in. And if we need to fix something, we will fix it and then we will move on and we won't beat ourselves up. Um, Also, the next one is you do not have to have everything handled. Handled-ish is plenty. Hence the whole idea of this handled-ish movement. Some things we are going to handle and it's going to be awesome. A lot of things are going to be handled-ish. And as I was putting this whole project together, I was thinking about, oh, maybe I want to do mugs. And I was thinking about maybe one of them could say, got it handled ish. And then in smaller letters, emphasis on the ish. Hopefully for a little bit of a chuckle and also to remind us that handled ish is what we're going for. That is the goal. That's the vibe. That is what we're doing. So I am curious what you think of the draft thoughts for the Handle-ish Manifesto. If you have any additional things that you think should be included, as I am working on the last few weeks of getting the new website put together. Yeah, would love to hear what you think. Let me know. Um, Rate, review. Let's do our R's. Sorry, three R's. Rate, review, and recommend the podcast, please. That's how other people get to be part of the Handle Dish community. Also, the S, subscribe. So RRRS, that's our mantra at the end of every podcast. Rate, review, recommend. Also, subscribe. I would appreciate it just as a human to human. Also, if you like the content and want other people to find it, that's the best way. That is the way the algorithms work. as you know. Okay, well, until next time, have the best week ever. And remember, you are doing way better than you think you are. Trust me.